All right, so we're going to talk some more about district tournaments, specifically the 2004. When you were assistant at Warren East. Almost said Warren Central again.
That's
Uh,
okay.
uh, so Warren East. So you start out with a 4-3 win over Barron County, and this is at Glasgow. And so you just kind of want to talk about that. I think we kind of discussed that already. I can't remember for.
We skimmed over it on our 2004 episode. So I guess this is, in a way, is 2004 part 2. But the Barron County win, it was a thriller. I mean, Barron County was on the verge of having a really good run there for about 5 or 6 years. And I really believe that season was the start of it. Because, remember, at the beginning of the season, we beat Barron County 5-1. And then we had to settle for a tie against them halfway through the year. So we're going into this game in the first round of districts, and it's a toss-up. And when you're in a district like we were in, where congratulations, you get to play Bowling Green. Congratulations, you get to play Greenwood. Congratulations, you get to play Warren Central. It's really, really, really difficult to keep kids motivated, knowing that they're going to be a huge underdog, that they're going to be punching upward, right? So, but I tell you what, in that game, and we beat Barron, and it was a thriller. I think we scored with about 7 minutes. I believe we scored with about 7 minutes to go to win the game. But again, it was congrats, you get to play Bowling Green, and
Totally.
yeah. So it's that can be you win the game, but it's a little bittersweet because you know what's coming up next. All right, another sports reference movie. Have you seen Rocky?
Scenes of it. I don't think I've actually sat down and watched the full movie, but I know like the famous, the lines and whatnot.
Yeah, you
I'm
know
better
that.
with
Yeah.
movies.
Okay, well, you gotta watch Rocky at some point. Chris, these games, and here's why I like that movie so much. All right, it's my number one sports movie of all time, because when he's fighting Apollo Creed, right, Rocky is a huge underdog, and it's basically just supposed to be an exhibition. Apollo is giving Rocky Balboa this opportunity to show himself, and show what he's got. And there's this term called tragic inevitability, meaning we all know how this is going to end, right? And Rocky lets Apollo know pretty quick, no, this is a real fight. I didn't come here to lose. And the thing about that movie so to me that movie is very realistic, because you got to pay attention to this, the facial expressions, because the facial expressions that you see in that movie, where everybody's looking around wondering, when's Apollo going to knock this bum out? You look at Rocky and you see the sense of belief coming over his face that he can win this, right? And it's no different. Anybody that's been involved in a game like this, whether it's soccer, basketball, or football, if you're supposed to win, you know that, and you're not, and if you lose, your season's over. That look of doubt comes over your face, like that look of concern comes over your face. You can't hide it. And it's the same for that look of belief. If you're the underdog and you realize there's 5 minutes to go and you have a chance to win this game, all of a sudden your confidence is sky high and you realize you're in a fight. And that's what took place in this game. So for me personally, this game in a lot of ways was a tone setter for what I was hoping to accomplish, not just the coach at Warren East, but in my overall career. I always envisioned my teams were going to be underdogs. We're going to have that underdog mentality, at least, whether we were or not. We were going to punch upward, and we weren't going to be intimidated by the regional or state powers we came across. We're going to bring the fight to the bully in the yard. And if I'm a player in that game, and our kids told us this, I'm seeing this game as an opportunity to accomplish something that no other team at your school or in the region has pulled off. The talent pool between Warren East and down in that area, we've talked about this before. The talent pool between Bowling Green and Warren East there's a lot of disparity, right? Nobody at Warren East has beaten Bowling Green in anything, hardly. Now at that time that was the case. Now here lately in the past few years, East has developed their athletic department a little bit more. The talent pool is a little bit deeper. But that one game in the postseason could define your entire 4-year high school career. And I guarantee you, the kids that graduated that season, that was their last game, that's what they think of. And we pushed Bowling Green. We had Bowling Green on the ropes. So that's why that game was important. It was a tone setter I felt like for my career, and I've forgotten about it a lot too. Up until we started doing, we got the idea for the podcast. We're like, man, I really want to talk about that Bowling Green game in 2004 where we had them on the ropes. And, you could argue that we played them better than there were only one or two teams that played them any better that year.
For sure. So what was kind of like the preparation, the expectations going into the game?
There are some, as far as expectations going into that game, these are the phrases that go through kids' heads. And to be honest, they go through the coaches' heads as well. And they definitely go through the parents' heads. Don't get blown out. Keep it respectable. Go down trying. And those are all the things that go through a player's head when they see they're going up against an opponent like Bowling Green in the district tournament. I did it when I was a player. We knew we were going to have to play Marshall County in the first round or Murray or somebody like that. So the expectations for these kinds of games are all about the language. And I'm not talking about like bad words or, cussing up a storm to try and motivate the kids. That's not what I'm talking about. The language of the parents and coaches. If a coach is saying things like whatever happens, happens, that's going to put a ceiling on your kids' expectations for the game. All right. And the reality is the kids will hear negative talk to some degree from their parents. It's kind of like if you're an NCAA or a college basketball fan, it's kind of the equivalent of a 1 versus 16 matchup, unless you're Virginia. And, and in most cases, the end result will work itself out the way we expect it to. Again, there's that term again, tragic inevitability. And, everybody's like, okay, well, when's the 1 seed? When's this team going to blow them out? And everybody's looking around waiting for it to happen. And it ain't happening. Right? So this game was no different. So it's very important for us coaches to send the message that we were going to Glasgow that night to beat Bowling Green. We weren't going there to lose. And you send that message by you got to still maintain high expectations in practice. You're still coaching, right? You don't go out there and roll the ball and say, all right, guys, have fun. This is the last practice, probably the last practice of the year. That coach deserves to be fired if they do that. You're still paying attention to detail, making kids run if they're taking shortcuts, things like that. So it's all about the language and actions of a coach if you want to keep your kids motivated for games like this. Because eventually, Chris, when you make those kids run for, for not taking things seriously, or their body language sucks, or you stop practice to throw a fit about those same things, that's when the kids say, holy crap, he's serious about this. When I was a senior in high school, we were getting ready to play Marshall County in the district tournament, and that was our best chance ever to advance in districts. We had the top record in the district that year, and Marshall ended up being the state runner-up. Well, we're practicing on Sunday the week before districts, and one of the guys in my grade, or one of our other seniors, he's goofing off while coach is giving instructions. And coach stops what he's doing and sends him on a lap, makes him run the rest of practice. And he used these terms: I'm trying to win a district championship, and you're sitting here acting like a fool. And that's when it dawned on me, like, holy crap, he really thinks we can win this game. He's serious. So you got to get your kids saying that same thing about you as a coach when it comes to expectations.
Totally. We should also probably mention this is a district where you had to play 2 games just to make it to the district final.
Yeah, I hate the 6. How many teams? If you're looking at it right now, my wife's got a million tabs on the Chromebook. So, what do you? 6 teams, right?
Yeah, 6 teams. Bowling Green, Warren East, Barron County, Central, and Glasgow.
So you're looking at the bracket, Chris. Does that mean if we had beaten Bowling Green, we would have advanced to the district championship?
Yeah, because Bowling Green advanced.
Yeah.
And Greenwood beat them 2-0.
There you go. Yeah. So Greenwood ended up being runner-up that year, I believe. So in the state. So it's all about the expectations, man. But you gotta have the language and you gotta have the actions. It's one thing to get on Twitter and tweet stuff like, "Hey, we got a chance to win. We're gonna shock the world." It's one thing to say that, before in the huddle before you close out practice, but your actions have to show that as well.
Totally. So, at what point during this game did you realize things were serious and this is kind of a heated battle?
Well, I'm a big believer that everybody's good the first 20 minutes of a game. But in this game, because it's such a mismatch, making it to the 20-minute mark without giving up a goal was going to be seen as a success. Bowling Green, we'll be fair here. Bowling Green, even though there was a large talent gap, Bowling Green was relatively young. It was mostly a team full of sophomores and juniors, right? And we had a talented senior group. What we needed out of them was more of a growth mindset for them to want to do something that they've never accomplished before. That's what we were looking for from them all year, and we hadn't gotten it from them up to that point. But then as the underdog, you have to survive the initial blast coming out of halftime as well when the opponent is pissed. I mean, that's what happens. A lot of times teams will go into halftime, scores nothing. The coach chews them out. The captains get up and say, hey, this is BS. We got to, let's come out. Let's just, let's throttle them. Let's deliver the knockout punch. And that's all she wrote. So to me, after the first 20 minutes of the second half, that's when I looked up and said, hey, we're in a battle. I mean, it took me a long time because I was still a little scarred from my high school experiences where we'd be in games like this all the time, and either Marshall County or whoever it was we were playing would put it, they'd throw the dagger at us and be like, dang, and take the air out of us and everything by scoring a goal. And hey, in the second half, we scored, and the refs took it away off a bogus offsides call. I still say it was bogus. But then throughout the game, like I said earlier, it becomes all about facial expressions, Chris. You see the panic in the faces of the Bowling Green kids and coaches. You look down and they look concerned. There was legit pacing by the coach, like he didn't know what to do. You can feel the growing concern of the parents on the other side of the field. You can literally feel the consternation, right? And you can see more and more belief in the faces of your own players. You see them there's a little bit more pep in their step. There's a little bit more aggression. So, and by the way, the referees who are expecting to, have a day off because they're refereeing Bowling Green and Warren East, you can literally see the referees looking around wondering why Bowling Green wasn't going to put us away. So, but by the 60th minute, I'd say business picked up and everyone finally accepted that this was going to be a fight. And that's why that reminds me so much of the first Rocky movie. I mean, it's all about the facial expressions, and it's a pleasure. Even though we lost, it's a pleasure to be a part of a game like that because you just see the kids develop that belief as the game goes on and on and on.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing like storming the field after winning, in overtime. So
that's nice too. So
yeah. Okay, so did you ever think a win was possible? In that overtime?
Once we got to overtime, I did. I really believe because here's what was going on, man. Our keeper, in my opinion, I felt like we had the better keeper, so I was like, okay, if we can make it to a shootout, we're going to win this game. Because anything can happen once you get to overtime, and then once the shootout happens, throw everything else out. It's all about in a lot of ways that we've talked about this before. It's all about luck, right? So our goalie was red hot. So me and the head coach and our kids were on the sideline. We were saying to each other, if we make it to a shootout, we're going to win this game. And Eric Pretty was probably one of the more underrated goalies in the state that year. He was a really good keeper. It's just, he wasn't going to get any attention because he was at Warren East. Which at that time in 2004, that was still a thing. You'll hear people say, well, it's because he's playing or she's playing at this school and that's why she's not getting any attention. That's a load of crap here in 2020. It's called social media. It's called Instagram. Anybody can get attention anywhere. Anyway, he was going to stop one or two penalties if the game got to that point. He was that good that night. He had made some incredible saves. And so, it was like once we got to overtime, I'm thinking, we're going to win this game. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm looking now. It's kind of odd. There's no roster. There's no stats for any of the teams.
They didn't require it in 2004.
That's so weird. I mean, I think this should be like a requirement each year, really.
A great fundraising opportunity would be for the KHSAA, especially in times like this. If they could designate somebody at each school to record these games and then allow parents or players. Now, programs do it all the time. You use it as a fundraiser, right? For any sport. If the state did it, though, it'd be awesome if you're 30 years old and you're having a fit of nostalgia and you want to go back and watch this game. It'd be awesome to be able to go on the KHSAA site and order a DVD to come to you of that game.
Yeah, I think nowadays, I know you all at Fairdale use like a camera to record, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that. So they kind of do that now. I mean, online, but
Yeah.
there's no stuff for back then.
Yeah, like I said, some the programs that have a little bit more number one parent involvement that can handle it, they use it as a fundraiser, and it's a great idea for a fundraiser because I would love to go back and watch this game.
Yeah, I would too. I wish I could see some stats, like to see how many saves that keeper had, and
that night, I bet Eric had. I'll tell you what. You might want to go check out the Bowling Green Daily News archives and see if it goes back that far. That'd be my first suggestion. But I'll bet that night, Chris, I bet Eric had 20 saves at least.
Yeah.
The time of possession, Bowling Green dominated. Right, their speed of play was so much better than ours. They were in the right spots and everything. It was a mismatch. But I tell you what, we had a red hot keeper who was very underrated. We had seniors that just decided that game that they were gonna punch upward finally. And like I said, you'd be shocked how many teams play their best game of the season in districts. That's why we play the district tournament. And we had an aggressive defense as well that night. So, I mean, that's a recipe for an upset or a near upset. So
totally. So, how should you avoid like these type of mismatches in the tournament?
Well, unfortunately, some schools are just going to have to hope for realignment. So if you're, I don't want to pick on them too much, but if you're male, right, and you've got Collegiate and St. X in your district,
right? Yeah, Brown.
Yeah. I mean, if you're Brown, even, you just got to hope for realignment at some point, and have a chance just to win a tournament game. But I would say if soccer ever gets serious about going to a class system, which it's not going to happen now anytime soon because of the budget restraints we're going to be looking at, then there's a chance that we wouldn't see as many of these mismatches in district tournaments around the state. I think if you've got two 4A schools or 6A schools or whatever going up against one another, you've got a chance for a more competitive game. But right now, and probably over the next 5 to 10 years, good luck convincing KHSAA to go that route.
For sure.